Don't make a scene. Look at him. He's waiting for you whether you like it or not.
What happens when a man, driven by his wealth and power, pushes his wife into a situation she never wanted? The stakes are higher than he could ever imagine, and she's not just playing along, she's playing a game of her own. In today's video, we'll delve into the story of a millionaire who believes he can control every part of his life, including his wife. But what begins as an attempt to test her loyalty will spiral into a tangled web of manipulation, revenge, and unexpected twists. The woman he thought was his pawn will reveal a plan that will shake everything to its core. This story starts innocuously enough: a man who uses his power and influence to get whatever he wants, and a woman who quietly endures it all. But when he forces her into a humiliating situation, expecting her to comply without question, he has no idea that she's already made her own plans. What starts as a show of dominance and control quickly turns into a battle neither of them anticipated. He believes he's the one pulling the strings, but she knows exactly what to do to turn the tables. It's a high-stakes game of power where the emotional consequences are far greater than either of them could ever have imagined. The relationship between them deteriorates, and the true power dynamics begin to shift. But what happens when everything he's built, his empire, his wealth, and his sense of control, comes crashing down around him? Will he ever be able to reclaim what is lost? Or has he underestimated the woman who's been silently planning her revenge all along? It's late in the evening, and the penthouse overlooks the sprawling city below. The lights flicker like distant stars, casting a cold, indifferent glow on everything inside. The room is meticulously arranged, as it always is, but there's a distinct sense of discomfort in the air tonight. The silence is palpable, punctuated only by the soft hum of the city beyond. In the vast, luxurious space, two people stand at opposite ends, one towering in authority, the other quietly observing, waiting for something to break. The man, whose name is synonymous with wealth and success, feels a strange unease creep into his mind. He's always been in control, always the one who made the rules. But tonight, as he looks at his wife, there's a shift, a moment where the dynamic between them feels different. She doesn't seem like the woman he's been manipulating. She's calm, composed, and somehow that calmness unsettles him even more than if she were angry. As he speaks, his voice carries the weight of a man who believes he's untouchable, but there's a crack in his confidence. He watches her carefully, looking for any sign of resistance, any hesitation, but she gives him nothing. Her silence is louder than any words could be. The millionaire's eyes narrow, his lips curling into a half-smile as he makes his demands. But what if this time she doesn't bend? What if, instead of submitting to his will, she plays a game that he never saw coming? Is she the passive victim he assumes she is, or is she setting the stage for something far more dangerous than he could ever anticipate? With every word he says, the tension between them deepens, and the truth becomes clearer. This isn't just about control or humiliation. This is about something much darker. A woman scorned, a mind twisted by betrayal, and a plan that is already set in motion. But what if the real game they are playing is one of power, revenge, and manipulation, and the only rule is that no one is safe? Stay tuned, because this is just the beginning. The penthouse looms above the city, its sleek glass walls offering an expansive view of the night sky. The lights below twinkle like a constellation of artificial stars, but inside, the atmosphere is far from glamorous. The polished surfaces reflect nothing but tension, cold and unyielding. The apartment, a symbol of wealth and success, is filled with an unsettling silence. The air is thick, charged with the unspoken friction between the two people who inhabit it. The man stands by the window, his back to her, looking out at the sprawling city that he controls. At least, that's what he tells himself. His mind races with 1,000 thoughts, but none of them make sense. This was supposed to be simple, a test of control, a statement of his power. But as he stares into the distance, he can feel the cracks forming, his empire of dominance slipping just out of reach. She sits on the plush sofa, still and silent. Her posture is perfect, as it always is, no hint of discomfort, no sign of resistance. Her face remains an unreadable mask, something he can never quite decipher. That calmness drives him mad. He wants to see fear, doubt, anger, anything that signals she's still in his grasp. But there's nothing, only the quiet ticking of the clock each second dragging on, stretching the tension to its breaking point. The man doesn't turn around, but he knows she's watching him. There's no need to ask, he can feel her eyes on his back. It's almost as if she's waiting for him to break. And that thought unnerves him more than anything else. He is supposed to be the one in control, the one who dictates their life. But tonight, it feels like the tables are slowly turning, and he's powerless to stop it. He's filled with a burning need to assert his dominance, to remind her that he holds all the cards. The millionaire is a man accustomed to getting what he wants, whether in business or in his personal life. He has everything: money, power, influence, but the one thing he can't seem to control is her. She should be his obedient wife, playing the role he's cast her in. But instead, she remains a mystery, a quiet force he can't understand. And it drives him crazy. His mind churns with conflicting thoughts, but the one thing that stands out is the fear that he's losing her, fear that she might not be the woman he thought she was. He watches her from the corner of his eye, trying to gauge her reaction, but her expression remains the same, cool, distant, almost detached. It's as if she's waiting for him to make the first move, to act, to take control. But he's already made his decision. He's already set the stage. She, on the other hand, is calm, composed, almost eerily serene. She has been in this position before, trapped in a gilded cage, and she knows the game better than he does. Every move he makes is predictable. Every word he says is another step towards her plan. She isn't afraid. In fact, she's almost detached from the situation. She doesn't care about the lavish penthouse, the jewelry, the designer clothes. What she wants isn't something he can buy or control. What she wants is something deeper, something more powerful than money could ever offer. Finally, the silence breaks. The man, frustrated by her passive defiance, spins around to face her. His eyes burn with anger. But beneath it, there's a hint of fear, a fear of losing everything he's built. He takes a few steps toward her, the sound of his footsteps reverberating through the empty space, each step a declaration of his authority. His voice, when it comes, is low and controlled. But there's an underlying tension that betrays his calm exterior. "What do you want from me?" he asks, his words sharp, as if he's daring her to say something that will give him the satisfaction he craves. He stands there, his fists clenched at his sides, waiting for her response. Her gaze never wavers. She doesn't flinch, doesn't react with surprise or fear. Instead, she simply meets his eyes, her expression unreadable, as if she's already a few steps ahead in a game he hasn't even realized is being played. "I don't want anything from you," she replies, her voice steady, almost too calm. "You're the one who's lost everything." The words hit him like a punch to the gut. For a moment, he stands there, frozen, trying to process what she's just said. He had expected defiance, anger, maybe even fear. But this is something he hadn't anticipated. Her words are simple, but they carry a weight he doesn't fully understand. The tension between them escalates as the silence stretches. Her words echo in his mind, but he doesn't know how to respond. He tries to push forward, to maintain control, but it's slipping through his fingers. The power dynamics are shifting, and for the first time, he's beginning to realize that he might not be the one in control anymore. She's not playing by his rules. She's not reacting the way he expects. And that terrifies him. "Everything you thought you knew about me," she continues, her voice almost a whisper now, "it's all a lie. You never understood me, and you never will." Her words hang in the air, thick with meaning. He stares at her, the weight of her statement sinking in. The woman he thought he had manipulated into submission is no longer the same woman. She's someone else entirely, someone with her own agenda, her own plans. The man takes a step back, his mind racing. The game is no longer just about control, it's about survival. And in this moment, he begins to understand that the stakes are higher than he could have ever imagined. Days pass, but the unease never leaves him. The millionaire feels it in the pit of his stomach, that gnawing, growing sense of helplessness. Every attempt to reassert control over his wife only seems to backfire. He's done everything, pushed her limits, challenged her loyalty, all in the name of power. But the more he tries to dominate, the further she slips from his grasp. At first, he thought this game would be easy. After all, he's used to getting what he wants. He's built an empire from the ground up, and he's always known how to get people to bend to his will. But his wife? She's different. He expected her to break under the pressure, to fold when he pushed her too far. Instead, she's become more composed, more distant. It's as though she's playing a game of her own, one he doesn't understand, one that's quickly slipping from his control. The tension is evident in every room they share. They no longer speak much, each conversation feeling like a thinly veiled battle. He watches her with growing suspicion, his thoughts constantly revolving around the question, what is she planning? Each passing day, the weight of her silence becomes heavier. She doesn't plead, doesn't argue. Instead, she simply exists in a state of calm that unnerves him more than any outburst ever could. His attempts to force her into submission feel futile now. The more he demands, the more she retreats into herself, into some place he can't reach. It all comes to a head one night when the tension between them becomes unbearable. He's had enough. The simmering frustration, the fear that he's losing control, he can't ignore it any longer. He finds her in the library, flipping through a book as though she hasn't a care in the world. He slams the door shut behind him, his voice cold and filled with menace. You think you've won, don't you? She looks up from the pages, a slight raise of her eyebrow the only indication that she's even aware of his presence. But there's no fear in her gaze, no trembling beneath the weight of his anger. I never wanted to win, she replies, her voice calm, almost detached. But you seem determined to turn everything into a battle. His anger flares, and he takes a step toward her, his voice rising. You think this is a game? You think you can play me? You've been nothing but a pawn in my hands all along. You agreed to this, you made this choice. She stands up slowly, not backing away from him, her eyes never leaving his. You have no idea who I am, do you? Her words are sharp, cutting through the air with a weight he wasn't expecting. You think you know everything about me, but you don't. You don't know anything. The words hit him harder than he expects. His breath catches in his throat as he stares at her, confusion and anger bubbling to the surface. He's used to being in control of every situation, to bending people to his will with just a word. But now, with her standing before him, defiant, unmoved, he feels a panic rising inside of him. You don't control me anymore, she says, her voice now laced with cold authority. You never did. For the first time, he feels his power slipping away, dissolving like sand in his fingers. The game he thought he was winning is suddenly out of his hands. And in that moment, he realizes just how little he really understands her, and how much she's been playing him all along. It's in that very moment that he starts to see the truth. The woman he thought he could manipulate, control, and dominate is not the fragile, obedient wife he envisioned. She's something entirely different. She's strong, calculated, and far more cunning than he ever gave her credit for. Everything he thought he knew about their relationship begins to crumble. He sees her not as the passive participant in his schemes, but as someone who has been quietly observing, learning, and waiting. It dawns on him with terrifying clarity, she's been playing him from the start. His sense of invincibility falters, and for the first time, he feels vulnerable. The guilt that has buried deep within himself for so long begins to rise to the surface. The mistakes he's made, the cruelties he's inflicted upon her, all rush to the forefront of his mind. And yet, despite the realization, he can't stop himself. The need for control is so ingrained in him that he can't give it up. His empire, his wealth, and his power have always been his crutches. But in this moment, they mean nothing. He's facing something far more dangerous than anything he's ever dealt with, a woman who has learned to manipulate the manipulator. The emotional stakes have reached a boiling point. What began as a calculated move to dominate and assert power has now spiraled into something far darker. He's no longer the one pulling the strings. He's caught in a web of his own making, and she's the one who holds all the cards. With each passing day, the power dynamics continue to shift. He tries to regain control, attempting to tighten his grip on her, but the more he pushes, the more she withdraws. His empire, once a symbol of his invulnerability, now feels fragile. Every decision he makes is questioned, every move scrutinized. His business dealings begin to falter, as whispers of his personal life and his deteriorating relationship with his wife make their way through the circles he's worked so hard to dominate. She doesn't need to lift a finger to tear his world apart. With her silence, with her mere presence, she's become the perfect force of destruction. He tries to retaliate. He offers her gifts, extravagant trips, the finest jewelry, all attempts to buy back her submission. But she doesn't care for these things. The wealth is thrown at her doesn't matter anymore. The game they are playing has become something far more dangerous, and with every new piece of information, every new twist in the story, he realizes that the danger is no longer just to his empire, it's to his very identity. He doesn't know who he is without control, and she's taking that away from him piece by piece. What started as a game of power has now become a fight for survival, and he doesn't know if he has what it takes to win. The tension between them has reached a boiling point. The days have passed in a haze of silent exchanges, and the air around them feels thick, suffocating. The millionaire's once unshakable confidence now wavers as he senses something's coming, something he can't prepare for, something he hasn't anticipated. His spent years controlling people, bending them to his will, but for the first time, he feels helpless, cornered. He watches her more closely now, analyzing her every move. She's no longer the docile wife he once thought he could dominate. There's a coldness in her eyes, a depth of resolve he didn't think was possible. His mind races, trying to piece together the puzzle she's created. What is she planning? What does she want from him? And more importantly, what has she been hiding? It all comes to a head one evening when she finally speaks. He's standing by the window, his back turned, staring out at the city below. He's waiting for her to make the next move, for her to break, for her to collapse in defeat. But instead, she walks into the room, calm, composed, and unreadable as ever. "It's time, isn't it?" she asks, her voice smooth like velvet, but laced with a hidden sharpness. He turns to face her, confusion flashing across his face. "What are you talking about?" Her eyes meet his, and for the first time in days, he sees something in them, something calculated, something dangerous. "Everything has been leading up to this moment," she says, her lips curl into a faint, knowing smile. "And you never saw it coming." He opens his mouth to speak, but no words come out. His heart races. He doesn't understand. What is she talking about? She steps closer to him, her gaze unwavering. "Do you remember when you first made the bet? The one where you thought you could break me? You never knew who you were dealing with, did you?" The words hit him like a punch to the gut. His mind begins to race, the pieces of the puzzle slowly clicking into place, but not fast enough. He feels a cold sweat trickle down his back as the weight of her words sinks in. "You thought you could control me. But I was never your pawn," she continues, her voice now dripping with a quiet intensity. "I was never just a woman in a bet. I had a plan all along." His breath hitches as the realization strikes him. All of his manipulations, all of his assumptions about her, were wrong. But then, she drops the bombshell, the truth that changes everything. "You see, my father," she says, her voice taking on a deeper, darker edge, "lost everything because of you. Your business dealings, your manipulation, your greed, it destroyed him. And now, I'm here to make sure you pay for it." The words hit him like a wrecking ball. His mind races, trying to process what she's just revealed. His father had crushed her family, yes, but he had never known the full extent of the damage, never realized the pain he'd caused. And now, the woman he thought he controlled, the woman he thought he could break, has been playing him from the beginning. She hasn't been a passive player in their game. She's been the mastermind, orchestrating every move from the shadows. He's stunned. His thoughts are a whirlwind of confusion and disbelief. His mind spins as he replays everything, the subtle shifts in her behavior, the moments of strange detachment. It all begins to make sense now. The calm, controlled woman in front of him wasn't just his wife, she was the one he should have feared. He stands frozen, staring at her in shock. His hands tremble at his sides, his mind racing to comprehend the depth of her words. Guilt floods him, a tidal wave of emotion crashing over him. It's as if the ground beneath his feet has shifted, leaving him unsteady, uncertain of where he stands. For the first time, he feels small. He's always been in control. He's always been the one pulling the strings. But now, he realizes how little he truly knows. His empire, his wealth, his control, they are nothing in the face of this revelation. His life's work, the foundation he's built everything upon, seems meaningless now. All of his triumphs, all of his victories, have led to this moment. A moment where he stands before the woman who's turned everything upside down, who has brought him to his knees without lifting a finger. The guilt, the shame, they threaten to consume him. He's destroyed so many lives in his pursuit of power. And now, standing before him, is the one person he never thought he'd have to answer to. He starts, his voice hoarse. You've been planning this all along. My eyes never leave his. You didn't think I'd just let you get away with it, did you? All the pain you caused my family, all the destruction you left in your wake. You thought I'd just forget. He's silent for a long moment, his gaze dropping to the floor. It feels as though the weight of the world has come crashing down on him. I never meant to hurt you, he whispers, his voice filled with regret. But even as the words leave his lips, he knows they can't undo the damage he's caused. He's realizing too late just how far he's gone, and just how much it's cost him. Everything between them shifts in that instant. The relationship they once had, the bond they shared, is now shattered beyond repair. In his mind, she was always just his wife, an accessory to his wealth, a symbol of his control. But now, she is something else entirely. She's no longer the woman he manipulated, she's the woman who's manipulated him. The balance of power has tipped. She's no longer a victim. She's the one holding all the cards, the one with the upper hand. And for the first time, he realizes that he is completely powerless. The woman who once stood by his side now stands above him, her gaze no longer filled with the tenderness of love, but with the cold, hard edge of vengeance. He can feel it now, the shift in the air, the unspoken understanding that she is the one in control. It's a humbling, devastating realization. The foundation of their marriage, once built on his power, his wealth, and his ability to control, has crumbled into dust. What remains is nothing more than a hollow shell, a painful reminder of the consequences of his actions. The relationship they once had is gone, and in its place, there's only a cold, unyielding truth. She's the one who's won, and he's the one who's lost everything. In that moment, the millionaire knows that nothing will ever be the same. The weight of what has happened hangs heavily over him. Every glance at her, every word exchanged, only serves as a reminder of the devastating truth he can no longer escape. The guilt gnaws at him constantly, like a dark shadow that lingers just behind him, always there, whispering that he's the one responsible for everything crumbling around him.